What if the reason people misunderstand you isn't because they're not listening, but because you're not speaking your truth? In a world flooded with filters, surface-level conversations, and curated personas, authentic communication has become a rare art. We speak, but we don't always connect. We hear, but we don't always understand. How often do you say what you really mean? Without fear, without overthinking, without pretending. Think about the last deep conversation you had. Did you feel seen, heard, respected? Or were you holding back, trying to protect your image or avoid conflict? Authentic communication isn't about being brutally honest or always getting it right. It's about aligning your words with your values, listening with presence, and building trust through vulnerability. And it's more powerful than any script or tactic because it's real. If you're tired of shallow talks, broken connections, and missed opportunities, then this video is for you. Let's break down the 7 keys to authentic communication. Tools that will not only change how others perceive you, but how deeply you connect, lead, and love. Let's begin. You're talking, but you're not being heard. You're explaining yourself, but people still don't get you. You're showing up, but deep down, you feel like no one sees the real you. This is the silent frustration so many people carry every day. It's not just about having conversations, it's about the aching gap between what you feel and what you can actually express. You try to be clear, kind, maybe even diplomatic, but it still ends in misunderstanding, tension, or emotional exhaustion. Maybe you've been in a conversation where you walked away thinking, "Why didn't I just say what I meant?" Or worse, "Why did I say that? That's not even how I really feel." Authentic communication is supposed to feel natural, but in reality, it often feels like walking on eggshells. We second-guess every word. We filter our tone. We try not to sound too harsh, too soft, too emotional, or too cold. We rehearse what we want to say in our heads, and yet when the moment comes, it still comes out wrong. And it's not just in relationships. This struggle bleeds into your work, your friendships, even your self-talk. You want to be assertive but not aggressive. You want to be kind but not passive. You want to be honest but not hurtful. So you end up doing emotional gymnastics trying to get it just right, and it leaves you feeling drained and misunderstood. At the heart of all this is a deep desire to connect, to be accepted, to be understood without having to over-explain, defend, or dilute yourself. But here's the problem. We're trained to communicate for approval, not for authenticity. We chase control, controlling how we're seen, how people respond, how much we reveal, because we're scared of what will happen if we're too real. The fear of being misunderstood makes us shrink. The fear of judgment makes us mask. The fear of conflict makes us choose silence. So we stay stuck in this loop, pretending, pleasing, performing. And all the while, we drift further from ourselves and further from others. That's the real pain. It's not just about miscommunication. It's about the quiet loneliness that grows when you can't show up as yourself. It's about relationships that feel superficial, conversations that feel scripted, and moments where you know what you should say, but you don't know how to say it without losing yourself. But what if it didn't have to be this way? What if authentic communication isn't some rare skill only therapists or leaders master, but something anyone can learn? What if you could speak with clarity and compassion, be open and grounded? What if every conversation didn't have to be a performance? but a place for truth. That's what we're unpacking in this video, because when you learn the 7 keys to authentic communication, everything starts to shift. Your presence, your confidence, your ability to build trust. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being real, and that's what changes everything. First, learn the meaning of what you say and then speak. Epictetus. In a world filled with noise, performance, and surface-level chatter, how do we communicate in a way that is real? How do we speak from our core without fear of being misunderstood, judged, or rejected? The answer lies not in manipulation or eloquence, but in truth. Stoic truth. Today we explore 7 keys to authentic communication, inspired by the enduring wisdom of Stoicism. This isn't about learning how to win arguments or charm a room. It's about learning to speak from your essence, grounded in reason, compassion, and clarity. 1. Speak with intention, not impulse. The Stoics taught us that we are not disturbed by things, but by our opinions about them. In conversation, many of us speak from unexamined emotion. We react rather than respond. Authentic communication begins with inner silence, taking a breath before we speak. When you pause before you speak, you create a space between trigger and response. This is where freedom lives. It's not about suppressing emotion, but about choosing your words from a place of clarity. You don't owe the world your immediate reaction. You owe it your thoughtful truth. 2. Align words with values. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Authenticity means saying what you mean and meaning what you say. Too often we compromise our integrity for approval, comfort, or conformity. But communication that is not aligned with your principles creates inner conflict. If your values matter to you, they must be present in your speech. Speak truthfully, even when it's uncomfortable. Speak kindly, even when it's hard. Don't flatter, don't manipulate. Let your words reflect your soul, not just your strategy. 3. Listen deeply to understand, not to respond. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak." Listening is the foundation of authentic communication. Not passive hearing, but active, present listening. When we truly listen, we set aside the ego's urge to interrupt, defend, or fix. We simply receive. It's in this space that connection happens. The desire to be understood must be matched with the willingness to understand others. Speak less. Listen more. Silence can be sacred. 4. Speak from responsibility, not blame. The Stoic doesn't waste time assigning blame. They ask, what is within my control? When we speak from blame, you made me feel, you always, you never, we surrender our power. Authentic communication owns its emotion. Instead of accusing, it reveals. Try this. I feel hurt because I value trust. Or I noticed I became defensive when I heard that. This shift creates dialogue instead of division. It opens doors rather than closing them. 5. Be brief but complete. Seneca wrote, "The greatest art is to limit imperfect speech." In Stoic tradition, wisdom doesn't ramble, it gets to the point. Authentic communicators don't drown others in words, they distill truth into clarity. That doesn't mean we rush, it means we respect the space and time of the listener. It means we remove fluff, exaggeration, and pretense. Say what matters. Let it breathe. Let it land. 6. Express emotion without becoming. Its Stoicism doesn't mean emotionless, it means emotionally mature. The Stoic observes emotions but doesn't become enslaved to them. Authentic communication honors feelings without letting them hijack the moment. You can say, "I'm disappointed," without lashing out. You can say, "I'm afraid," without retreating. Real strength is vulnerable and grounded at the same time. Speak from emotion, not emotionality. The former is truth, the latter is reaction. 7. Make peace with silence. Epictetus said, "Keep silence for the most part and speak only when you must." Sometimes the most authentic thing to say is nothing at all. Not every moment demands a comment. Not every conflict needs a counter. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom at rest. When you choose not to speak, it's not avoidance, it's discernment. You conserve your energy, you sharpen your clarity, you speak only when you're ready to mean it. Authentic communication isn't a technique, it's a practice, a way of life, a reflection of who you are when you strip away ego, fear, and performance. The Stoics didn't just speak truth, they lived it. So ask yourself, are your words a mirror of your values? Are you listening with your full presence? Are you speaking to connect or to control? If you want better conversations, start by becoming a better communicator. And to do that, you must become a better observer of your own mind. The world doesn't need more polished talkers, it needs people willing to speak and live the truth. If this message resonates, take a moment to reflect before your next conversation. Practice one of these Stoic keys. And if you're ready to go deeper into Stoic living, like, share, and subscribe for more timeless insights to help you live with clarity, courage, and calm. In today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, communication is everywhere. But connection is rare. We're constantly talking, texting, posting, and responding, yet many of us still feel misunderstood, unheard, or emotionally disconnected. The solution isn't to talk more, it's to communicate authentically, to align what we say with who we are. Applying Stoic wisdom to modern communication shifts everything, not only in how others perceive us, but in how we perceive ourselves. Let's explore how these 7 keys rooted in ancient Stoicism can transform your daily life through clear mindset and behavior shifts. In the modern world, reaction is glorified. Social media rewards instant responses, debates reward quick comebacks, but Stoicism teaches us to pause. This mindset shift from reacting to responding helps us avoid emotional outbursts, misunderstandings, and regret. Imagine you're in a tense meeting and someone criticizes your work. The impulsive reaction might be to defend, deflect, or retaliate. But if you pause, breathe, and speak with intention, you might respond with, "That's helpful feedback. Can you share more so I can improve it?" That pause protects your integrity and creates room for growth. You gain respect and clarity, not just externally, but within. So much of modern communication is shaped by image management, saying what we think others want to hear. But authentic communication means letting go of performative speech and anchoring in what matters to us. The behavioral change here is practicing congruent speech, words that align with our inner compass. For example, if honesty is your value, but you often avoid telling the truth to keep the peace, you create internal friction. Instead, say what you believe with kindness. "I don't feel comfortable with that decision" is braver and more trustworthy than silence. Over time, this habit earns others' respect and your own self-trust. In conversations, most people aren't listening. They're waiting to speak. But the Stoic mindset of humility shifts this. Listen to understand, not to impress or defend. try this in your relationships. Instead of interrupting with your opinion or rushing to offer advice, reflect back what you heard. So what I'm hearing is that you felt let down when I didn't call. Am I getting that right? This one habit deepens emotional safety and intimacy. People begin to feel truly seen, and you learn more about them and yourself. Modern communication often relies on blame language. You made me upset. You never support me. Stoicism flips this. Own your emotions. Instead of "you made me angry," say, "I felt angry when that happened." The mindset shift here is moving from victimhood to ownership. In daily life, this change helps diffuse conflict and builds emotional maturity. Your conversations stop being battles and start becoming collaborative. In romantic partnerships, this one behavior, owning your words and emotions, can turn a toxic cycle into an honest dialogue. We live in a world of over-explaining and oversharing. Stoicism teaches us to be succinct. Speak what is necessary, not excessive. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being precise. In practice, this might look like answering directly in work emails or conversations. "I won't be able to take that on today, but I can support you tomorrow." No need for apology, over-justification, or filler words. This saves time, conserves energy, and reduces confusion. Your communication becomes clean, confident, and clear. In modern culture, we swing between emotional suppression and emotional flooding. The Stoic middle path is emotional expression with composure. You don't deny your feelings, but you don't let them dominate your speech either. Say you're disappointed in a friend who let you down. Instead of lashing out or shutting down, you can say, "I felt hurt when you didn't show up. I value our time together." This models vulnerability with dignity. Over time, you create a space where honesty is safe, not dramatic. We often fill silence with noise because we fear discomfort, but silence is powerful. Stoicism reframes silence not as absence, but as presence. The mindset shift here is learning to value quiet as communication. Next time you're tempted to overshare, over-explain, or interrupt, pause. Let silence stretch. Let the other person think. Let you think. In negotiations, silence gives you the upper hand. In relationships, it shows patience. In self-talk, it allows clarity to rise. When you stop fearing silence, your words become more intentional and impactful. Authentic communication isn't just a technique, it's a way of being. When we adopt these Stoic principles, we stop performing and start relating. We speak from who we are, not who we're trying to be. We listen not to control, but to connect. Over time, this way of communication rewires your relationships. You'll attract people who value honesty over perfection. You'll stop needing to explain yourself all the time because you'll speak clearly the first time. You'll feel less drained by conflict and more fulfilled by conversations that matter. Most importantly, you'll trust yourself more because you'll know your words carry the weight of your truth. So start small. Pick one of these 7 keys. Practice it for a week. See what changes, not just in others, but in you. Authenticity isn't a gift, it's a skill. And every time you choose to speak with clarity, listen with care, and act with integrity, you sharpen it. One word at a time. As we come to the close of this exploration into the 7 keys to authentic communication, take a moment to pause, not just to remember what was said, but to reflect on what resonated. Which part of you leaned in as you listened? Which key stirred something quiet but undeniable inside? Because the truth is, communication isn't just about words. It's about alignment between your thoughts, your emotions, your values, and your voice. It's about coherence. And coherence feels like peace. It feels like power. Not the kind that dominates others, but the kind that anchors you within yourself. Most people never learn how to communicate authentically. They grow up learning to avoid conflict, to speak what's expected, to hide behind politeness, or to mask vulnerability with defensiveness. They become fluent in performance but foreign to truth. The result? Shallow conversations, frustrating relationships, and a subtle growing distance from their own self. But here's the shift that Stoicism offers and what today's lesson reinforces. Authentic communication is not a luxury, it's a skill, a practice, a choice you make every day. And the reward for making that choice is connection, not just with others, but with your deeper self. When you speak with intention instead of impulse, you begin to live with greater emotional responsibility. You're no longer at the mercy of every trigger or mood. You create space for wisdom to emerge, space for the kind of conversations that don't just pass time, but build trust. When you align your words with your values, you stop being a social chameleon. You stop adapting to every environment at the cost of your truth. Instead, you become known as someone who is consistent, grounded, and trustworthy. People may not always agree with you, but they'll respect you. When you listen to understand, not to reply, you become magnetic. Because in a world full of noise, true listening is rare. When you give someone your full attention, you give them dignity. And that is the foundation of every meaningful relationship, whether personal, professional, or public. When you speak from responsibility, not blame, you take ownership of your emotional landscape. You stop projecting and start relating. You begin to shape conversations that are solution-focused, rather than stuck in cycles of reactivity and pain. When you choose brevity over clutter, you become clear, respected, and effective. You no longer waste time justifying yourself or over-explaining. You trust your voice, you say what you mean, and you leave space for your message to breathe. When you express emotion without becoming it, you walk the fine line between honesty and composure. You speak your heart, but you remain in command of your mind. This is emotional maturity in action. And it changes how others receive you because you model both vulnerability and strength. And when you make peace with silence, you discover the true power of restraint. You stop fearing pauses, you stop rushing to fill the air. You learn that not every moment needs your voice. Sometimes it needs your presence. Here's your call to action, and it's simple but powerful. Don't try to master all 7 keys at once. Choose one. Just one. The one that tugged at you the most. The one that made you think, that's what I've been missing. Maybe it's listening more deeply. Maybe it's speaking more honestly. Maybe it's pausing before reacting. Whatever it is, commit to practicing it for the next 7 days. Not perfectly, not performatively, but mindfully. Write it on a sticky note. Reflect on it at the end of each day. Ask yourself, did I live this today? And if you didn't, that's okay. That moment of awareness is the practice. That reflection is progress. And here's the beautiful thing. As you change the way you communicate, you will change the way people experience you. But more than that, you'll change the way you experience yourself. You'll feel more aligned, more respected, more understood, and more at peace with how you move through the world. Because when your words match your values, when your silence carries intention, and when your voice reflects truth, you stop feeling like you're performing. You start feeling like you're home. That's the power of authentic communication. It's not just about being heard, it's about being known. So if this message speaks to something real inside you, share it with a friend, a partner, a team. Bring these ideas into your next conversation. Let this be a spark, not just a summary. And if you're ready to keep growing in emotional intelligence, stoic resilience, and inner clarity, subscribe. This is just the beginning. Remember, speak less, mean more. Choose truth over performance. And above all, speak, not just to be heard, but to be understood. Thank you for being here. Now go practice your truth, one word at a time.